His Excellencies, Director of Islamic Higher Education, Ministry of Religious Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Professor Dr. Ahmad Zainul Hamdi, MAG.
The Honorable Rector of UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, Professor Asep Saifuddin Jahar, PhD.
The Honorable Head Institute for Research and Community Empowerment UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, Professor Amelia Fauzia, MA, PhD.
The Honorable Chairman of PBNU, Kiai Haji Ulil Absar Abdullah, MA.
The Honorable Chairperson of the OIC Human Rights Commission, Professor Dr. Siti Ruhaini Dhuhayatin, MA.
Excellencies,
Distinguished guests,
participants,
presenters,
the 6th ICONIST Committee,
ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan.
Welcome to Discovery Ancol Jakarta for attending the 6th International Conference on Interreligious Studies, Sciences and Technology with theme, Religion Still Matters, navigating the relevance of religion across the issue of environment, renewable technology, artificial intelligence, and social inclusions. I am Anafa.
And I am Yaya.
And it is such an honor for us to be here today to lead this prestigious event. First of all praise be upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the world, who has been giving us guidance, happiness, health, and mercy so we can attend and participate in this event.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin this magnificent event, allow me to give a sneak peek of this event. ICONIST is aimed to become a respected international forum for scholars and professionals to discuss the recent improvement and challenges faced by Islamic world. The conference was initiated in 2018 by LPPM UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta and was intended to become a discussion forum to disseminate science and technological research and insight, especially in the field of Islamic studies, information technology, natural and social sciences, and humanities. This year, LPPM UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta proudly collaborates with UNSW, PBNU or Central Board of Nahdlatul Ulama, MAARIF Institute, Bukhori Institute, PRIO, Filantropi Indonesia, Bank BJB, and 5P.
Ladies and gentlemen, this international conference will feature approximately 64 speakers from 16 countries. Therefore, by attending this event, the audience will gain a lot of positive insights and productivity from education perspective. All best participants, these are the members of the 6th ICONIST 2023. Indonesia,
Australia,
Norway,
Qatar,
Philippines,
Malaysia,
Bangladesh,
India,
China,
Sudan,
Egypt,
Pakistan,
Iraq,
United States of America,
and the United Kingdom.
Ladies and gentlemen, next we have a special performance Indonesian traditional dance called Lenggang Pesona Jakarta.
Lenggang Pesona Jakarta dance is raised from the basic Betawi cokek dance and inspired by the song Kicir Kicir, which gave birth to a variety of moves creations. By times and the development of moves, it became a Betawi creation dance, Lenggang Pesona Jakarta, which tells about the joy, excitement, festivity, splendor, and beauty of the beautiful, clean, and modern city of Jakarta. This dance is usually performed as a welcome dance by young Jakarta dancers, gently but energetically, accompanied by modern gambang kromong music.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Please enjoy!
Wow, such a beautiful performance. Let's have applause once more. The next agenda is singing Indonesia's national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please raise. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated.
In the next session, let's lower down our heads in the presence of God and pray together. To Mr. Fasjud Syukhroni, STHI MAG, you may please take the lead.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Da'una nad'u Allah ma'an. Arju an tasmahu li bid-du'a bit-tariqatil islamiyyah ala hadhihi niyyah wa ala kulli niyatin salihah. Al-Fatihah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين آمين يا رب العالمين اللهم بحق الفاتحة وبسر الفاتحة وبمعجزة الفاتحة وبكرامة الفاتحة وبحق من أنزل عليه الفاتحة يا فارج الهام ويا كاشف الغام يا من لعبده يغفر ويرحم اللهم حول أحوالنا إلى أحسن الحال اللهم حول أحوالنا إلى أحسن الحال اللهم حول أحوالنا إلى أحسن الحال يا حي يا قيوم يا بديع السماوات والأرض يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا الله لا إله إلا أنت إنا نسألك أن تحيي قلوبنا بنور معرفتك ونور قلوبنا بنور هدايتك كما نورت الأرض بنور شمسك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين ارحمنا ويا قريبا غير بعيد ويا شاهدا غير غائب ويا غالبا غير مغلوب يا ذا الجلال والإكرام لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك اللهم إنا نسألك عمرا مباركا وعلما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا وإيمانا دائما ولسانا صادقا وعملا مقبولا اللهم افتح لنا أبواب الخير وأبواب البركة وأبواب النعمة وأبواب القوة وأبواب الصحة وأبواب السلامة وأبواب العافية وأبواب الجنة اللهم أنت ربنا لا إله إلا أنت خلقتنا ونحن عبدك ونحن على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعنا ونعوذ بك من شر ما صنعنا نبوء لك بنعمتك علينا ونبوء لك بذنبنا فاغفر لنا فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت ربنا اغفر لنا وارحمنا واجبرنا وارفعنا وارزقنا واهدنا وعافنا واعف عنا اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا وارحمهما كما ربيانا صغارا ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار يا ميسر يسر يا مدبر دبر يا مسهل سهل سهل علينا كل عسير بجاه بصير نذير وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين شكرا جزيلا والعفو منكم والله الموفق إلى أقوام الطريق السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Amin, amin ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Mr. Fasjud Syukrani, for lead the prayer.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the next agenda, we're going to hear a welcoming speech by the Excellencies, the Director of Islamic Higher Education, Ministry of Religious Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia. Please welcome Professor Dr. Ahmad Zainul Hamdi, MAG.
Thank you. Is it my voice clear there?
Yes, yes, sir.
Thanks. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to say thank you for coming here, join with us, and allow me to mention Honorable Rector UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, my friend Professor Dr. Asep Jahar, and distinguished guest speakers and participants of the conference. We have many names, many scholars here. There are Al-Alim Kiai Haji Ulil Absar Abdallah, MA, from Central Board of Nahdlatul Ulama, And also we have Professor Dr. Ruhaini Zuhayatin, MA, and other speakers. First of all, again, I'm very happy with this conference. Why? Because as long as we are talking about religion, this is very important issue for us. Since the very early modern era, religion has been questioned, not only its rules, but also its existence. At least there are two questions about religion in our lives. Do we really need the religion in our life? Does religion take some positive role in guiding us to face the future? These are questions always pour our mind about religion from the beginning of the modern era until now. After the Second War, when the prosperity grew up positively around the world, and we see technology invention that we have never seen before, many sociologists and scientists believe that the religion close to the end. The religion doesn't have important role anymore in guiding us to face the future, to manage our life. But until now, we see that religion still takes a part almost all of our life aspect. Education, politics, culture, and science as well. And that's why I'm very enthusiastic with this kind of conference. This conference will push us to explore many areas of our life where religion is the very important aspect in it. Before I close my speech, allow me to welcome you. I'm very happy to welcome you all to join with this conference, enjoy the discussion and exploration of the very interesting issues. Thank you. Wallahul muwaffiq ila aqwamit thoriq. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, the Director of Islamic Higher Education, Ministry of Religious Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, Professor Dr. Ahmad Zainul Hamdi, MAG, for the welcoming speech. Moving up to the next session, now we are going to listen the reporting speech by the Chair of the 6th ICONIST, Professor Amelia Fauzia, PhD. The Honorable Professor Amelia Fauzia, PhD, time is yours.
Okay. The Honorable Director of Islamic Higher Education Institution, Prof. Dr. Ahmad Zainul Hamdi, thank you for insightful welcoming speech. Honorable Rector of Syarif Hidayatullah State Islamic University, Professor Dr. Asep Saifuddin Jahar, and Vice Rectors, all of the Dean from the Syarif Hidayatullah State Islamic University Jakarta, distinguished keynote speakers, K. Haji Ulil Absar Abdallah, Professor Ruhaini, Professor Hefner, who is also online with us, Professor Minako, and many other invited speakers, presenters, honorable guests, committee members, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. Alhamdulillah wa syukurillah wa la hawla wa la quwata illa billah amma ba'd. Good morning, everyone. I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the opportunity to update you on the preparations and organizations of this two-day event on behalf of the committee of the 6th International Conference on Interreligious Studies, Science and Technology, ICONIST. Religion still matters. Navigating the role of religion across environment, renewable energy, artificial intelligence, and social inclusion issues is the formidable question that we have designated as the theme for this year's conference. Our Institute of Research and Community Empowerment, Lembaga Penelitian dan Pengabdian Masyarakat, or LPPM, serve as a repository for inquiries regarding future initiative, a think center for the short-term and long-term priority programs of UIN Jakarta, and executors of the Rector's major strategic ideas as well. Our institute is a critical pillar in the progress of UIN Jakarta. Consequently, we must be receptive and swift in our response to certain contemporary issues that emerge in our own region and the world at large. The question of the significance of religion extends beyond the mere of acts of worship or adherence to a particular faith. It also encompasses how religion can effectively function within a community during a time of unprecedented opportunities and challenge, such as environmental conservation, renewable energy, artificial intelligence, social inclusion, and the pervasive use of technology in all facets of human existence. We have effectively extended invitation to 64 individuals representing diverse backgrounds, including academics, policymakers, religious leaders, technology and environmental specialists, and social activists. These individuals, hailing from 16 different countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, China, Sudan, Egypt, Pakistan, Iraq, Malaysia, United States, Australia, United Kingdom, Norway, Bangladesh, Qatar, and the Philippines. All will be participating in the conference as speakers, presenters, and authors. They will share their ideas, thoughts, and experiences to discuss relevant issues. Afterward, we will gather the papers they have submitted and distribute them through various publications, among other proceeding, national, international journals, and also edited book. We intend to go forward not merely confining our ideas to papers, but actively fostering ongoing dialogue and translating our insightful suggestions into tangible action and policy decision. This is that university is a part of civil society. I am deeply honored to be given the responsibility of chairing this significant yearly conference, leading LPPM in hosting this event. We are grateful for the chance for our institute to collaborate with other organizations to successfully coordinate and equip this ICONIST event. We have engaged in fruitful collaboration with Lakpesdam Nahdlatul Ulama, PBNU, MAARIF Institute, UNSW, Peace Research Institute Oslo, or PRIO, Bukhori Institute, Perhimpunan Filantropi Indonesia, Bank Jawa Barat, and 5P. This ICONIST presented a great collaboration of civil society, state, academics, and professionals to share common agenda for a sustainable future. The present-day global community's approach to addressing issues pertaining to environment, energy, artificial intelligence, and inclusivity is exemplified by the diversity that might cause complication and require strategic approach. With this reason, the venue of this conference is in Jakarta. Not only a place which is widely acknowledged for its ethnic, religious, and national diversity, a place of advancement of research and technology, but also a place with dynamic political and religious expression, as we have seen yesterday, and one of the cities with the highest pollution level worldwide. Jakarta is the prime example of the utilization and progress of technology in Indonesia. From Jakarta, this conference will discuss various issues that put the religion in the focus to this current change and challenge. This conference includes keynote speakers from scholars representing 2 big Muslim civil society organizations, speakers in the 3 plenaries and 4 special panels, and a number of parallel sessions. We believe that this conference provides essential component for addressing the task of sustaining the significant impact that religion still holds over person and society's life. Please be advised that tonight, following dinner, we will observe candlelight prayer to for the cessation of hostilities and support for peace building in Gaza, in light of the ongoing humanitarian crisis in the region. We are one another belonging and should demonstrate compassion when others are impacted by crisis, even if we are not directly involved. As well, this conference advocates for the advancement of collective knowledge, intellectual discourse, empathy, and rising awareness in the effort to make Earth a more habitable planet. Without the assistance of numerous parties, this conference would not have been feasible. Regrettably, time constraint prevent me from enumerating all of the names. However, I would like to express my profound gratitude to Prof. Asep Saifuddin Jahar, our rector, for his invaluable support, and also extend my sincere appreciation to distinguished presenters and attendees of this conference, especially our keynote speaker, K. Haji Ulil Absar Abdallah and Prof. Siti Ruhaini Zuhayatin. And also, especially to Professor Robert Hefner, who is now online following our opening. He is supposed to fly with us to come here. Unfortunately, his airplane has been delayed in somewhere in Newark and couldn't come here, but he is really looking forward to give a speech with us. To Pak Bob Hefner and all of the speakers, your substantial contribution to this conference is greatly appreciated. In conclusion, I wish to express my heartily gratitude to all of individuals who contribute to their time and energy to the preparation for LPPM with Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, as well as the volunteers who comprise the organizing committee. Many thanks for your immeasurable and sincere assistance. I extend a cordial and fruitful deliberation to all participants. Buah mangga, buah kelengkeng. Have a wonderful time at the conference. Yeah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Amelia Fauzia, PhD, for a heartfelt reporting speech of the 6th ICONIST 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, moving up to the next session is a welcoming speech and an official opening by Rector of UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta. The Honorable Professor Asep Saifuddin Jahar, MA, PhD, would like to invite Professor Asep to the stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Chairman of the Nahdlatul Ulama Executive Board, Kiai Haji Ulil Absar Abdallah, the Honorable Chairman of the Muhammadiyah Central Committee, Professor Dr. Siti Ruhaini Zuhayatin, MA, Honorable Director of Islamic Higher Education, Professor Dr. Ahmad Zainul Hamdi, Honorable Head of the Institute of Research and Community Service of UIN Syarif Hidayatullah, Professor Amelia Fauzia, Honorable Vice Rectors, Head of Bureaus, and Dean of the Syarif Hidayatullah State Islamic University, respected chairpersons, invited panelists, participants of the SIG ICONIST, respected steering and operating committee of the SIG ICONIST, distinguished professors, lecturers, researchers, students, ladies and gentlemen. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, amma ba'du. In the midst of this profound academic gathering, the 6th International Conference on Interreligious Studies, Science and Technology, ICONIST, may we extend our sincerest appreciation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the supreme being of the graciousness and mercifulness, for bestowing us the privilege of being here and for granting us the chance to convene and exchange our most valuable knowledge and understanding. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, to begin with, on behalf of the Rector of UIN State Islamic University, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude for this organizing committee, keynote speakers, invited panelists, and everyone else whose contribution, no matter how small, has helped to make this momentous occasion a reality. Congratulations and many thanks to LPPM, or the Institute of Research and Service, and its partners which coordinated this event in an extraordinary manner. The PBNU Lakpesdam, MAARIF Institute, UNSW Sydney, Prayo Al-Bukhori, Philanthropy Indonesia, 5P, and BGB. Furthermore, this conference is of a strategic nature, and your active participation and presence, which contribute valuable insight and lend it a distinctive atmosphere, are of the utmost importance. In our capacity as members of the academic community, it is critical that we perpetually seek to expand our knowledge, expand the boundaries of comprehension, and explore the possible resolution to the complex dilemmas that currently plague the global community. The significance and profundity of the 6 ICONIST for the advancement of religion, science, and technology in Indonesia, and by extension, the world cannot be overstated. By participating in this conference, we are afforded the chance to engage in intellectual discourse, broaden our professional connections, discuss the impact of religion on technology and scientific advancement, and contemplate its significance across various domains. This corresponds with the enduring principle of UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, which is the integration of knowledge and Islam. Furthermore, the International Conference on Religion still matters, navigating the relevance of religion across the issues of environment, renewable technology, artificial intelligence, and social science of the 6 ICONIST is highly pertinent to the present-day global landscape. This theme draws inspiration from a multitude of issues that confront international society at large, including but not limited to environmental degradation, humanitarian crisis in the midst of technological advancement in renewable energy and artificial intelligence, and the complexities associated with sustaining an inclusive community life. The significance of religion and religions across numerous interdisciplinary fields is crucial for the development of society that is progressive, harmonious, inclusive, and civilized. We aspire for this conference to serve as a platform for dialogue and consensus building concerning the significant influence of religion in modern society, with a particular focus on its relevance in light of recent advancement in artificial intelligence, environmental concerns, renewable technology, and social integration. UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, a state Islamic University renowned for its robust scientific heritage, has consistently upheld the significance of the religious and belief system in furthering the progress of science and technology. Religion, in our opinion, remains highly pertinent to the advancement of science and civilization and does not pose a hindrance to either. With the ICONIST framework in mind, our aspiration is that this conference serves as a platform to foster a more profound comprehension of the central concern of ICONIST, while also promoting an attitude of acceptance toward the differences as a valuable resource that enhance ideas and viewpoint. Religion influence on the advancement of science and technology must not be disregarded. Scientists and researchers may find inspiration and motivation in religion to investigate diverse domains of knowledge. Science is esteemed in Islam as a pathway to a deeper relationship with God. As a result, we persistently promote the adherence of our students and faculties to scientific inquiry guided by the religious convictions, encouraging them to do so with utmost devotion and integrity. With the aim of guiding the advancement of science and technology toward a more sustainable and inclusive trajectories, our six ICONISTs aim to inspire participants to generate novel concepts and share best practices, ensuring that technological advancement do not marginalize minority groups or individuals living in impoverished socioeconomic conditions is a moral obligation that we each bear. Scientists and academics are also encouraged to contemplate the ethical ramification of their findings and guarantee that the ensuing advancement offer optimal advantages for both human being and environment. The outcome of the discussions and research conducted here should be presumably have a significant positive impact on society and the world at large, and this event should serve as a turning point in the evolution of science and religion in Indonesia. Let us collectively preserve the ethos of cooperation and reciprocal comprehension that unite us. We can build upon our another wisdom and collaboration to ensure a prosperous future characterized by diversity, mutual respect, and assistance. We appreciate everyone's participation and attention during the sixth ICONIST. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perpetually bestow blessing upon our endeavors to acquire knowledge and truth. And finally, I officially open this international by together we are reciting Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Professor Asep Saifuddin Jahara MA PhD, for your wonderful and heartfelt welcome speech for the sixth ICONIST. With all respect, we would like to invite Professor Asep Saifuddin Jahara MA PhD to officially open the sixth ICONIST by beating the gong. But before that, we would like to invite Head of LPPM UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, Professor Amelia PhD, the Secretary of LPPM UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, Mr. Fathuddin MA Hum MH, the head of PBNU, Kiai Haji Ulil Absori. Ulil Absor, I'm sorry. Okay. Please come forward.
The 6th International Conference on Interreligious Studies, Sciences and Technology
Is officially open. Please give round applause.
The Honorable Representative, I'd like to ask you to remain on the stage for the documentation session. I'd like to invite all our respected representatives to come up to the stage for the photo session. This will be held by the committee. The 6th International Conference on Interreligious Studies, Sciences and Technology
Is officially open.
All right, thank you very much, all respective representatives. You may return to your seat. Thank you. Thank you very much for all blessed participants of the 6th ICONIST. That was the opening of our agenda today. And we've been through all the sequences of events for the official opening.
Finally, we have arrived to the most awaited session of this event, the 6th ICONIST 2023, with the theme Religion Still Matters, navigating the relevance of religion across the issue of environment, renewable technology, artificial intelligence, and social inclusion.
The next agenda is the main keynote speech, which will be delivered by Kiai Haji Ulil Absar Abdullah MA from NU Institute for Research and Human Resources Development PBNU, with title, The Significance of Faith to Preserve Ecological Sustainability in the Era of Technological Advancement. Ladies and gentlemen, this session will be guided by our moderator, Ibu Siti Aisyah, SE MPhil, PhD. I am Anafa.
And I am Yaya.
We'd like to pass this session To our moderator and to our distinguished moderator, please welcome.
The Honorable Rector of UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, Professor Dr. Asep Saifuddin Johar, MA PhD. Our keynote speaker, Honorable K. Haji Ulil Absar Abdallah, also the Chairman of PBNU. All distinguished participants of this conference today. It's such a great honor for me to come and see you, meet all great speakers and enthusiastic participants at the International Conference of Interreligious Studies, Science and Technology, ICONIST 2023. And the theme raised by committee this time is very interesting actually, because relatable with the problems we are facing today. Religion still matter, or maybe I can say in question mark, is religion still matter? Because from this conversation, from this discussion, we want to navigate the relevance of religion across the issue of environments, renewable energy, artificial intelligence, and social inclusion. First of all, I would like to welcome to all participants and invited speakers who come from Indonesia and abroad as well, who are investing their time and energy to come and share their insight with us in this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, as we already know, the progress of science that has given birth to advanced technology is an inevitability. Whether we like or dislike it, technology has become part of our life and we have to deal with it. Even though it has changed the order of life and even the construction of mankind's worldview toward nature. We have seen the phenomena in the last 2 years, how the Russia-Ukraine war, and also what is currently happening in Middle East area between Israel and Hamas and allies, how sophisticated technology, military weapons with increasingly destructive quality can devastate a region in just few seconds. Technology can be very useful for mankind, but on the other hand, technology also promises disaster to this earth. In the right hands, technology can be useful to build great civilization, but in the wrong hands, technology creates catastrophe in the earth. There is one approach that humans use when approaching and treating nature that is inspired by religion teachings, namely anthropocentrism. This view assumes that humans are created better, nobler, with a higher level than other creatures. So that the consequence of this view, humans think they have more power than other creatures. This privilege should make humans a caliph who is responsible for taking care of what God has created. But the contrary, the privilege makes humans become arrogant and they see nature is merely considered as an object to provide human needs. This way of thinking is what differentiates the behavior of modern humans and ancient humans when dealing with their environments. In pre-modern times, people in their system of belief, they believe something sacred because they believe in something that's sacred, so they perform rituals, some rituals to give respect to the sacred one. For example, in my culture, in Bugis, there is a manuscript very longer than Mahabharata and Ramayana, I think. it's written that there is a ritual machera. Machera, they sacrifice some animals, certain animals, and in certain numbers, and this blood of the animals they put on the tree before they cut the tree down. So it's not only sacrificing animals, but this is the way or language of ancient people to respect the sacred one. And this modern era, this is the big loss of us. For example, every morning or every day, you are engaged with our gadget every time. But people in the ancient times, they communicate, they build the communication with the nature. Today will be rain. Or today the wind will be going to the west or to the east. But people in this modern era, we don't have this kind of communication anymore. We don't get connected with our nature anymore. So this is big loss to modern people. This should be a big concern of religious people, religious community, because in every religion provides a guided tool for its followers. And this religion is a set of values and norms. Okay? And religion normally contains two aspects, esoteric and exoteric. Exoteric talk about norms, but esoteric aspect talk about value. And how we can find the sacred again in this modern era, faith playing the important role to help us, to guide us finding again the sacred in our consciousness. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is just maybe quite a longer bridging from me. I want to welcome our keynote speaker, Bapak Kiai Haji Ulil Absar Abdullah, to share his insight with us. Bapak Ulil Absar Abdullah, the time is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Asep Saifuddin, Rector of UIN Jakarta, and also the organizers of the 6th conference of ICONIST for inviting me to this conference that gathers. Okay, I should stand in the podium. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'm so honored to be invited into this conference that gathers scholars and experts of various and diverse academic background to discuss, converse, and exchange ideas, thought, and insight that matters to the issues that we are going to discuss in this conference. As you all know that the most important foundation of academic life is research and the pursuit of truth. However, this intellectual pursuit of truth cannot in any way be undertaken in an isolated world. The pursuit of truth undertaken by scholars should be carried out in an interconnected world, whereby scholars are in perpetual conversation with other fellow scholars. A pursuit of truth in academia is a result of a collective endeavor. A scholar may undertake a research in a solitary chamber, surrounded by a stack full of books, but he or she is in fact not alone. He or she is in constant dialogue with other fellow scholars from across the world. Dialogue, conversation, and exchange are the foundation of academic life. This conference is just doing that, a dialogue and conversation. A dialogue and conference, however, can only proceed on one condition, and that is to have more than just one viewpoint. A dialogue that allows only a single viewpoint to be an overriding and predominant perspective on matters discussed is not worthy to be named a dialogue. It is rather an authoritarian monologue. It is sad that one way or another, this authoritarianism of monologue has been, under various and sometimes noble guises, creeping into our academic life. Under some pretext of protecting stability or the so-called orthodoxy, both sacred and secular, for instance, there are attempts at muzzling and silencing alternative voices, especially those voices that put the prevailing orthodoxy at jeopardy. We should acknowledge with full honesty that our academic life often falls prey to this lure of authoritarianism of monologue without us even realizing it. What is no less dangerous than this monologue of orthodoxy is another type of monologue resulting from, let us, academic parochialism, by which I mean a tendency among scholars to be immersive in life of mind while not bothering a bit about what is going on in the real life of people. I know that what Hannah Arendt called vita contemplativa, or the life of mind, can bring to us scholars and intellectuals a lot of satisfaction and gratification. I also know very well that there is always a strong pull among scholars toward squeezing realities, both social and mental, into a neat construct of theoretical formula, and treating this abstracted form of reality to be something that takes life on its own. This parochial attitude among certain academia, sooner or later, will generate a skepticism and cynicism among people toward the role of science in society. In fact, we already encountered the cynical attitude in society towards scholars and scholarly life. And this cynicism is made even worse in the post-truth era. We as scholars then bear a moral burden to restore the academic life into its proper pedestal as a site where different voices and viewpoints can be put into test and challenged without fear of being trampled by an existing orthodoxy. Monologue is the enemy of free academic life or of any society in general. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say a few words about the general theme of this conference. Religion still matters. Let us unpack a bit some underlying assumption lurking behind this manifesto-sounding topic. First of all, this general theme, as we know well, certainly refers to the general prevailing theory of secularization. In his classic, The Sacred Canopy, Professor Peter Beger came up with the succinct definition of secularization as the processes by which sectors of society and culture are removed from the domination of religious institution and symbol. The removal of public life from the domination of religious symbol and institution certainly entails a life where religion does not matter anymore. This is the gist of secularization theory in general. For quite some time, this is a theory that predominates the academic landscape in Europe and elsewhere in 60s and 70s, shaping an angle through which modern scholars see and interpret modern social realities. In my view, secularization theory is a conceptual construct that is reflective of certain era and society. Hence, its limited explanatory power to understand social reality. It is certainly valid for certain era and social contexts, namely the European context. In 1999, Professor Berger himself produced another groundbreaking volume, the desecularization of the world, in which he showed the irrelevance of secularization theory as a conceptual lens to understand and interpret the contemporary realities, including those realities in Europe and North America where this theory derived its initial impetus. Religious institution and symbol might lose its grip in certain era and social contexts, but contemporary social dynamic shows that unmistakable return of religion in people's lives, both within and outside the borders of European context. Indonesia, for instance, never saw a receding role of religion in society. Religious symbol and institution were and continue to be robust in Indonesian society. In other words, religion always matters to Indonesian society of any religious and faith background. For some Indonesian scholars, the question is not whether or not religion remain relevant and matters. It is not that question, but because religion always matters to our life. The question rather is how and to what extent religion assert its influence. Some scholars, Indonesian scholars, complain about the excess of social and cultural role exercised by religion and religious institutions in contemporary Indonesian life. As the specter of presidential election loom large in Indonesia these days, there is a widespread fear that religion might be used in the wrong way to mobilize an electoral vote in a manner that endanger the social fabric of Indonesian society in what is commonly called identity politics. Yes, there might be some sign of secularizing moment in modern Indonesian social landscape, salient among which was the marginalization of religion during the New Order era, but it never sidelined religion totally from the public life of Indonesian people. Post-Reformasi era that began in 1998 even saw an ever increasing role of religion in our society. The question is not whether religion matters or not, but how it makes itself matter to society. This is the challenge of Indonesian scholars today. How to make religion matter in a productive and constructive way. I want to share with you here the intellectual dynamic that is underway in Nahdlatul Ulama, which I represent here. Since 90s, Nahdlatul Ulama embark on an intellectual project to what we call recontextualization of Islamic tradition. By this we mean an intellectual endeavor based on Islamic classical tradition to reinterpret and rethink Islamic intellectual legacy or turath in the light of new social realities. One of the biggest problems of Muslims today lies exactly here, namely in our willingness and ability to undertake what is called i'adatul qira'ah, or rereading, rethinking Islamic turath in a way that can respond productively to modern realities. We all know well that Islamic tradition is a product of certain social reality and context. This context is long gone, but the challenge is that this textual legacy produced by the bygone era still sit with us and influence the way Muslims of today conduct their life. This textual legacy constitutes what is normative for Muslim people. Unless this legacy is unpacked and rethought, there is always a big problem of a gap between the text and the context. The challenge for Muslim scholars today is how to fill this gap with a new understanding. Scholars within Nahdlatul Ulama has embarked on this project, on formulating a new istinbat or understanding of Islamic tradition. We launched what we call a project of halaqah fikih peradaban, or the halaqah or seminars, a discussion that aim at re-understanding and reinterpreting Islamic tradition with the vision of filling this gap between our textual turath with the new reality. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to Bapak Kiai Haji Ulil Absar Abdullah for very great speech today. And for the next agenda, we are going to the plenary one, right? Okay. So let's give big applause to our keynote speaker, Bapak Kiai Haji Ulil Absar Abdullah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for plenary session 1, I would like to invite 3 our speakers. Professor Robert W. Hefner from Boston University. The second one, Professor Minako Sakai from University of New South Wales. And the third one, Professor Dr. Abbas Panakal from University of St. Andrews, United Kingdom. So all speakers, please welcome to the stage.
Professor Robert W. Hefner. Professor Hefner is Professor of Anthropology and International Relations at Boston University. He is Director of Center for the Study of Asia and former Director of the Institute on Culture, Religion, and World Affairs, CURA, at Boston University. Professor Hefner has directed 19 research projects and organized 18 international conferences. He is a globally recognized expert on Islam with numerous books on Islam, religion, democracy, and international affairs. Associate Professor Minako Sakai, PhD. Associate Professor Minako Sakai, PhD, is Deputy Head of School Research at the School of Humanities and Social Sciences, the University of New South Wales, UNSW, Canberra. She is a dedicated scholar with extensive publication in the field of Islam, anthropology, gender, and social policies. Most recently with Professor Amalia Fauzia, she wrote book titled Women Entrepreneurs and Business Empowerment in Muslim Country, which published by Palgrave Macmillan. She also awarded Indonesian National Cultural Award by Indonesian Ambassador for Australia and Vanuatu for contribution in Indonesian studies and the Indonesian language in Australia. Dr. Abbas Panakal. Dr. Abbas Panakal is the director of International Interfaith Harmony Initiative, which has been organizing the International Interfaith conferences in collaboration with United Nations Initiative, the Malaysia Prime Minister's Department for Unity and Integration, and the International Islamic University Malaysia for the past 6 years. Abbas was awarded a fellowship by the Center for Interfaith and Culture Dialogue from Griffith University, Australia. Panakal is also the editor of a book series on integrated and indigenized Islam of South and Southeast Asia. He was also the project coordinator of the G20 Interfaith Summit in Australia 2014, Turkey 2015, Germany 2017, and was actively involved in the organization and coordination of several interfaith summits and related conferences in the Middle East and South Asia.
Okay, for this plenary session 1, we are going to talk about the impact of disruptive technology upon religion, democracy, peace building, and economy. Because our speakers cannot see the monitors, so that's why they decide to come back to their chair because technical problem. Is it okay? I'm alone here in the stage. Okay. According to this topic, I want to mention a professor from Iran, Iranian professor of physics. He explained how science, which is considered rational and has special methods that are thought to be unrelated to religious or metaphysical views, actually developed from metaphysical presuppositions. As we all know that science and metaphysics something different, but for him, actually science can develop from metaphysical presuppositions. For example, Einstein's general theory of relativity is supported by Aristotle's theory of causality, which emphasizes the existence of causa prima as the beginning of the creation of life. Einstein delayed announcing his theory for 2 years until he was convinced that his theory was in accordance with the principle of causality, which he believed was a universal principle. And according to Golshani, one of the factors in the change in the approach taken by humans, especially scientists, to nature is because nature is seen solely a machine, which has no rights or gives rise to an exploitative attitude towards nature. Before the development of modern science, most scientists believed in objective moral laws. Advances in science have had the effect of marginalizing ethical consideration and spreading the subjectivism of moral values. Sponsored by the view of capitalism, which wants to accumulate as much capital as possible, nature in front of capitalism is just a capital mine, which is very tempting to be drained as much as possible. Unfortunately, as humanities knowledge increases in explaining the mysteries of nature and giving birth to technological products, modern human discoveries have become a disaster for humans themselves. Technology that aims to provide convenience for humans actually doesn't bring prosperity to humanity, because excessive exploitation of natural resources causes changes in the balance of the natural movement of the cosmos. Okay, for the first speech, we are going to hear from Professor Robert W. Hefner, PhD, who are joined from online from Zoom. Is it ready? Okay. To Professor Robert W. Hefner, the time is yours, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very clear.
Well, let me thank you, Bu Amelia and Pa Andy. Let me thank you for this kind invitation to an event that I very much appreciate. I'm sorry that, as you know, my flight to Indonesia, which I set out on Friday morning, experienced technical difficulties, and as a result, I can't be with you in person. But I'll give my paper nonetheless, and again, thank you for the invitation. The title of my talk tonight is called Why Indonesia Matters, Lessons on Making Democracy, Social Media, and Religiosity Work for the Common Good. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. I begin. In recent years, the political spirit of our times has taken a downward turn. In striking contrast to the ebullient optimism of some years ago, the post-Cold War 1990s in particular, it's become a commonplace of political commentary today to speak of a decline in the quality of democracy in the West, including my own United States, and a regression in democratization's momentum in areas of the global South, as it's called, including Southeast Asia and, of course, the Muslim Middle East. In the eyes of the respected political observer Larry Diamond, democracy is said to have fallen on hard times. Now, from an Indonesian perspective, and from the perspective of those of us who love Indonesia, saya adalah orang pecinta Indonesia juga, but from an Indonesian perspective, this new wave of pessimism with regard to democracy and citizenship deserves special attention, because it inevitably raises questions as to where democracy and citizen belonging in Indonesia are going. The question is of additional concern because the ASEAN neighborhood in which Indonesia finds itself is one of the world areas regarded 30 years ago as at the cutting edge of democratization, but today it's regarded as in the throes of democratic decline. In particular, with the collapse of democracy in Thailand and the Duterte government's abuses of human rights in the Philippines, few political observers today regard ASEAN as a region where democracy is ascendant. A few Indonesianists in Western countries have suggested Indonesia is perhaps going in a similar downward direction towards democratic regression. But I disagree. And it's the reasons for this disagreement that I want to emphasize today. Before doing so, however, let me make a few more remarks on the time and space that Indonesia inhabits so that we can put Indonesia's democracy in a comparative perspective. We know that the neighborhood in which Indonesia finds itself includes not just the ASEAN neighbors, but the 57 members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the OIC. 48 of the OIC member countries are Muslim majority. In these latter countries, assessments of Muslim success at implementing democracy have also in recent years taken a decidedly somber or even pessimistic turn. This reflects the fact that by 2013, the hopeful dreams of the 2011 Arab Democratic Spring had given way to the grim realization that in all of the Arab Muslim nations today, now even including Tunisia, progress toward pluralist democracy had either stalled or it had stopped entirely. Now, Indonesia, I want to suggest, it's obviously not an Arab country, but it's an often overlooked exception to these downward trends in the Muslim majority world. Certainly, as the Indonesian sociologist Vedi Hadi's observed several years ago, the Indonesia that exited from 32 years of authoritarian rule in 1998-99 demonstrates that neither liberal democracy nor theocratic authoritarianism, and now I quote Vedi, constitutes the inevitable terminus of modern Islamic politics. Modern Islamic politics goes in multiple directions. Some Western analysts have reached even far more pessimistic conclusions than has Vedi, suggesting that Indonesia is also on the slippery slope of democratic decline. However, and again, here's my core thesis this evening, I disagree with this new pessimism with regard to Indonesia and Indonesian democracy. Indeed, my argument tonight this morning is that Indonesia has done remarkably well in transitioning to and consolidating democracy and an inclusive practice of citizenship. A major reason that Indonesia has shown success in this twin process has to do with two things. First, the country's progress, remarkable progress over the past 75 years at developing a shared national culture of citizen belonging, a sense of kebangsaan. And second, the remarkable role played for several decades by those two pillars of democracy and citizenship in this country, the Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah. Democracy in Indonesia, this successful achievement of democracy in Indonesia, would not have been possible without these two Muslim mass organizations. Now that's the essence of my argument here this morning, and that's one that I would like to try to expand by providing an overview of just how it is that Indonesia has achieved the remarkable democratic success that it has. So I begin now, again, the substance of my argument. At the heart of my argument are several broad theoretical observations. First, and this is a truism I think recognized by democratic theorists everywhere, first, whether in Indonesia, in the United States, or any other democracy, the formal institutions of elections, free assembly, and representative government are never sufficient to make democracy work in a way that guarantees equal rights and dignity for all. Democratic institutions remain vulnerable to uncivil and undemocratic abuse unless reinforced by a broadly shared culture of citizen equality, one similar in spirit to what my colleague at Universitas Gadjah Mada, Zainal Abidin Bagir, has described as a pluralisme kewargaan. A pluralisme kewargaan, or pluralist citizenship, is a culture of citizenship that not merely tolerates differences across religious and ethnic divides, but actively upholds and defends the equality, civic rights, and freedom of all citizens. Whether in Indonesia, the United States, or any other democratic country, democracy without this inclusive citizen culture remains vulnerable to populist showmanship and undemocratic abuse. Recent developments in my own country, not least with regard to former President Donald Trump, show this, I think, in a particularly painful manner. As developments in Western democracies over the past generations make clear that formal elections, and other democratic institutions do not automatically produce the shared democratic culture that I'm referring to here as pluralisme kewarganegaraan, or kewargaan. In fact, since the 1990s, Western democracies, including my own United States, have witnessed social trends antithetical to a pluralisme kewarganegaraan and a civic pluralist equality. One particularly striking example of these anti-pluralist trends that I've mentioned already has been the rise of authoritarian populism in Western democracies. Populists in the West attempt to polarize and divide the broader public by loudly denouncing political elites, foreign, especially Muslim immigrants, and globalization. Populists like these erode the sense of equality and decency across difference, on which democratic citizenship depends and replace it with the binary of us versus them. Having divided the citizenry in this way, the populist leader then claims to speak for the virtuous masses, and in so doing undermines citizen equality and genuine democratic participation. I've already said that, unfortunately, Donald Trump is a powerful example of the latter in my country. So now on back to Indonesia. How was it that a nation as diverse as Indonesia, with some 700 ethnic groups and diverse religious communities, how is it that this country has been able to resist exclusivist trends like those and develop a significant measure of citizen inclusivity or civic pluralist equality? My takeaway from having worked in Indonesia and been a lover of Indonesia for some 40 years is that this achievement of civic pluralistic inclusivity was made possible by several developments in civil society in general and Muslim civil society in particular. The most important of these developments gained momentum in the 1990s and involved the normative cultural work to convince Muslim Indonesians that democracy and Pancasila pluralism are compatible with Islam. What is so remarkable about Indonesia, this democratic culture making, remember my point is that formal democracy alone is not sufficient. You need a culture of democracy for democracy to work and be genuinely inclusive. And what is so remarkable about Indonesia is that this democratic culture making was performed not by secular elites, but by Muslim public intellectuals with ties to Muslim mass organizations. These individuals worked tirelessly to convince their respective organizations and the broader Indonesian public that democracy and Pancasila citizenship are not just compatible with, but vital realizations of Islamic values. Now the Muslim, jumping ahead just a couple of sentences, the Muslim leadership of this movement, this democratic movement, displayed a feature democratic theorists in the West, like O'Donnell and Schmitter, identified years earlier as vital for a successful transition from authoritarian rule and a consolidation of democracy. That's what Indonesia had. What I'm referring to is that Indonesia had a coalitional structure that linked exemplary individuals, politicians, intellectuals, and others, actively promoting democracy and citizenship through mass organizations in society, through which those values, those democratic values, could be socialized among the public as a whole. And that's what the Indonesian Muslim leadership did. To state the matter differently, the key to Indonesia's democracy-making achievement lay in the fact that beginning in the 1980s, a new generation of Muslim public intellectuals, again with ties to Muslim mass organizations, Muslim intellectuals like Nokholish Majid, Daumar Harjo, and of course Abdurrahman Wahid, these individuals, in conjunction with the central leadership of Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah, produced that core scholarship on which democracy depends, a core scholarship disseminated Islamic rationales for Indonesian democracy, for pluralist citizenship, and consolidated those values in the Muslim public as a whole. In other words, well before the great political transition of the Reformasi era, Muslim leaders in MNU and Muhammadiyah had succeeded in establishing a broad public consensus on democratic governance as a maslahah, public good. There's the distinction, the remarkable achievement of Indonesia. Without this consensus on Islam and democracy, Indonesia's return to democracy after 1998-99 would not have been possible. It was these Muslim leaders and Muslim civil society organizations that made Indonesia's return to democracy possible. As it struggled then toward and then returned to democracy in 1998-99, Indonesia also possessed a second comparative cultural and ethical advantage when it comes to the task of making the inclusive democratic culture on which formal democracy depends. This second comparative advantage had to do with remarkable developments in Islamic higher education. These are often overlooked by more conventional political observers. But commentators on Muslim culture around the world have long recognized the pivotal importance of public schooling and higher Islamic education in efforts to create and disseminate a culture and practice of inclusive citizenship in Muslim-majority societies. Without that effort in Muslim higher education, democracy again is weak and finds difficulty being consolidated. As we all know, this challenge of consolidating a democratic culture is complicated in Muslim-majority societies as a result of certain Islam or Muslim society-specific path dependencies. The most challenging of these have to do with certain discriminatory or differentiating legacies in classical Islamic jurisprudence, or fiqh, and I'm referring to certain differentiating tendencies with regard to dhimmis, or protected minorities, non-Muslims, and of course, women. If left in place, if these jurisprudential or fiqh legacies are not addressed, and if allowed to determine a Muslim's public's ethical priorities, these jurisprudential legacies may make an equal and inclusive practice of citizenship impossible. And it's here again, however, that Indonesia stands out in the brilliance of its Muslim leadership and its political and educational leaders. In Indonesia, from the late 1980s on, Muslim scholars associated with the State Islamic University, as well as the Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah University system, crafted educational programs to address and revise these fiqh legacies, discriminatory or differentiating legacies, and to provide Islamic rationales in support of democracy, constitutionalism, and a Pancasila variety of citizen equality. In recent years, indeed, in just over the last 7 years, and under the leadership of Kiai Haji Yahya Khalil Stakov, the effort to reform Islamic fiqh on matters related to non-Muslims and citizenship equality has gone even further. Under the leadership of the Gerakan Pemuda Ansur, Bait ar-Rahmah, and the Humanitarian Islam Initiative, NU officials have sought to preserve fiqh, yes, maintain fiqh, as the queen of the Islamic sciences, an important part of Islamic ethical culture, but they have done so while simultaneously constructing fiqh's message with regard to non-Muslims and citizen belonging in light of the modern values, the modern Indonesian values of democracy and citizen equality. The MAARIF Institute and Muhammadiyah leadership have engaged in the same work of ethical legal renewal from a Muhammadiyah perspective, but with the same end of supporting democracy and promoting equality, citizen equality across religious divides. There has been and is still today a third and no less striking dimension to Indonesia's comparative democratic advantage. In other words, the reason that it, among Muslim-majority societies, has proved so successful at making democracy work. And the third comparative advantage about which I'm talking has to do with Muslim women and Muslim women's associations. Here too, efforts to craft a new fiqh, a new public ethical consensus consonant with citizen and gender equality, have been given additional social impetus by the fact that Indonesia has the largest and the most forward-looking Muslim mass organizations in the world, another remarkable quality of Indonesia. As early as the first decades of the 20th century, Indonesia was among the first Muslim-majority countries to implement far-reaching programs for women's education in Islamic schools. By the 1990s, jumping ahead, obviously, and abbreviating the story, Muslim women were well represented, not just in the general college and university system, but most remarkably in Indonesia's extraordinary state Islamic university system, the uinjkt system. This educational achievement has had significant downstream effects for women's roles in Indonesia. At just under 50% of the mature female population, rates of female labor force participation in Indonesia are 3 times what they are in Egypt, Jordan, and much of the Arab Middle East. 3 times greater. These changes in the social circumstances of Muslim Indonesian women have reinforced pressures for a reformulation of fiqh and Islamic ethics consonant with the new women-inclusive realities of Indonesian society today. Now, together, these achievements that I've described in the fields of Muslim education, civil society organizations, particularly Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah, and religious scholarship have made possible the culture-making democratic reforms of the Reformasi transition. In other words, they've facilitated the democratic culture without which formal democracy risks remaining an empty shell. In its first 2 years, the Reformasi government expanded press freedoms, legalized independent political parties, and authorized a referendum on East Timor. We all know this. The National Assembly passed laws which allowed for a far-reaching decentralization. The list goes on. But the basic point I wish to make here is that there were a variety of initiatives that, if you will, created once again the democratic culture through which the formal democracy to which Indonesia had made a transition after 1998-99 gained deep cultural substance. I jump ahead now, again on page 8 for those of you who are reading. A no less decisive illustration of the relative strength of democratic values in governing circles in Indonesia in the early years of the transition had to do with mainline Muslim leadership's response to implement a state-managed and codified variety of Sharia in national life. Now, Sharia is a legitimate and important part of any and all Muslim societies. But here again, the way in which Muslim Indonesians responded to calls for an implementation of Sharia and Islamic values stands out as exceptional. In many Muslim-majority countries, the Sahwa, or Islamic awakening, that has taken place since the 1970s gave rise to growing numbers of Muslim believers calling for a legislatively codified and ultimately highly simplified and eroded understanding of Islamic law. Critics of such efforts, including the late Abdurrahman Wahid here in Indonesia, or Tariq Ramadan in the UK, or Muhammad Hashim Kamali in Malaysia, critics of such codification efforts point out that what was called Sharia by the proponents of this state-enforced legislation, in fact, wasn't really quite Sharia, but it represented a kind of formalistic departure from the Sharia as historically and substantively understood and practiced in Muslim scholars. The eminent scholar of Islamic law, whom some of you perhaps know, that is Sami Zubaydah, rightly describes this variety of Sharia crafting, the codification and legislative formulation that was so pervasive in many Muslim societies, but not Indonesia. He's described it as a triumph of Western models rather than an authentically Islamic Sharia as such. Nonetheless, in many Muslim-majority countries, the aspirations for such a codified, but ultimately rather misleading or highly simplified understanding of Islamic Sharia gained momentum with the aspiration for democratic government. But again, on this key point, democratic Indonesia in the early Reformasi period was once again different and exceptional in a most remarkable way. Between 2000 and 2002, the National Assembly turned back proposals to change the Constitution so as to require the state to implement this simplified and legislatively defined variety of Islamic law for all citizens. The National Assembly did not reject these proposals for Sharia legislation because its members were secularist liberals committed to an American-style separation of religion and state, or committed to values other than those of the Sharia. On the contrary, the first of the Ketuhanan principles of the Pancasila, a principle to which Muslim leaders are themselves dedicated, that Ketuhanan principle makes clear that Indonesia rejects what the political scientist Ahmad Kuru has called assertive secularist separation of religion and state. Pancasila democracy enjoins state and society alike to work together to actively promote religion and Islamic values as maslahah, public goods. Although to many Western secularists, many of my colleagues here in the West today regard such collaborations on religious affairs as somewhat illiberal, I would point out that Indonesia's emphasis on a collaboration for the promotion of religious values is in fact consistent with an earlier 19th century variety of democracy in Western Europe and indeed even the United States. There was in these countries too a collaboration similar to that which we see here in Indonesia today, in which organizations like the Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah, along with Muslim public intellectuals, work with the government to promote religious values, Islamic and religious values generally, but they do so in a way that seeks to bring those Islamic values into public life in a way that works with, rather than against, democracy and Pancasila, pluralism. So I jump ahead to the section, the populist turn. In all four of the respects that I have highlighted today, Muslim society and Indonesian democracy offer important lessons, positive lessons, not just for Muslims, but for Western publics struggling to come to terms with their own citizen plurality and often quite confused, I would say, as to the proper place of religion in public life. Indonesia, I think, has a better understanding of how to make democracy work with religious values. Whether with Donald Trump's hard-right populism in the West or Hindu nationalism in Indonesia, democracy in the 21st century everywhere finds itself confronting a majoritarian populism that seeks to put in place culture-making processes antithetical to an inclusive and equal citizenship. By majoritarian populism, I mean a variety of undemocratic, authoritarian culture that claims to speak in the name of the majority so as to deny the citizen rights of minorities and others. Although it often emerges from the very heart of electoral competition, majoritarian populism imperils the very citizen values and indeed the religious values on which a true democracy like that here in Indonesia depends. Although I could say more about the challenge to democracy posed by figures like Donald Trump in my own United States, I wanted in the final portion of my remarks this morning to focus on the prospects for populist majoritarianism in Indonesia, in other words, threats to Indonesian democracy. A number of developments have spurred the development of, if you will, populist majoritarian tendencies. But these tendencies seen most vigorously with the rise of groups like the Front Pembela Islam and other vigilante groups that have sought, if you will, to turn back the democratic process in Indonesia and equally importantly, turn back the democratic values which Muslim majority organizations like Muhammadiyah and Nahdlatul Ulama have so effectively, have so brilliantly promoted. These anti-democratic currents were also influenced by the emergence of a wide variety, small but wide variety of transnational Islamist movements in Indonesia that also challenged the tradition of Indonesian democracy and Pancasila pluralism. The emergence of such transnational Islamism represented an unintended byproduct of the new communications technologies and the social media transformation that took place in the late 1990s and early 2000s all across the world, but with particular dramatic effect in Indonesia. Both developments allowed Islamist political entrepreneurs who opposed Indonesian democracy and Pancasila ideals and who opposed Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah's commitment to democracy. It allowed these groups to mobilize against democratic elections and against the democratic values of the Muslim mainstream. But through a combination of media savvy and polarizing appeal, these new transnational movements sought to reject Indonesia's inclusive variety of democracy and Pancasila pluralism. However, they failed in their efforts. Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah, along with the Ministry of Religion and Education, and most remarkably, no doubt, the State Islamic University system and the Muhammadiyah Nahdlatul Ulama higher educational system, all of these agencies came together to defend the best of Indonesia's Islam's inclusive democratic achievements. These organizations and the Ministry of Religion and Education's programs with regard to things like humanitarian Islam and Islam berkemajuan demonstrate the centrality of NU and Muhammadiyah to making democracy work in a Pancasila and inclusive way. Again, I emphasize what I said before. The democratic consolidation in Indonesia would not have been possible without the culture-making efforts of Nahdlatul Ulama, Muhammadiyah, and their respective allies in Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Religion. Now, this brings me to my last observation this morning. It's a theoretical and comparative one. It is that notwithstanding the claims of Western secularization theorists a generation ago, Indonesia shows that a high wall of separation between religion and state, a secularist separation, is not necessary to make democracy work in an inclusive and equal way. I would point out, just by way of comparison, that such a high wall of separation, though it may be the norm in many Western countries today, it was not the norm for most of the 19th and early 20th century. In fact, most Western European countries still today have established churches and or financial arrangements for the support of religion, much like those that we see in a more active and dynamic way in Indonesia. Speaking more generally, in a 2006 study on the separation of religion and state in 152 countries, the political scientist Jonathan Fox showed that a full separation of religion and the state is found nowhere in the world, in fact, other than in the United States. This is to say that in pursuing a collaborative relationship between religious authorities and the state, Indonesia is not somehow violating some tenet of democracy and citizen equality, because democracy does not require, Indonesia shows brilliantly that democracy does not require a separation of religion and state. In fact, it benefits from a collaboration between religious actors and organizations and a democratic leadership.
I'm sorry, Prof. Hebner.
Whether in Indonesia or in other Muslim majority lands, however, the aspiration to realize religious values in public life brings certain questions to the fore. Foremost among these questions is the question of which values are most relevant for a shared national life and who has the authority to decide what those values are. But it's precisely here that the achievement of Indonesian democracy, Pancasila citizenship, and the initiatives, the Nahdlatul Ulama, Muhammadiyah, and other Muslim mass organizations in Indonesia, it's here that these achievements shine so brightly.
Prof. Hebner, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry for
Yes.
interrupting. I think we have to jump to conclusion. The time is
Okay.
up.
Can I just summarize my 4 point? I'm sorry if I didn't. I thought I was. I
please.
thought I was getting 40 minutes, but just for some points.
Okay, please. We have
So I've
3
emphasized-
speakers for this session. That's all.
That's sufficient.
Please.
So
Please continue.
my last, just one sentence. The core lesson of my remarks today, and the core lesson that I think Indonesia and Indonesian democracy offers, is that religion still matters, and it matters all the remarkably here in Indonesia because religion in general and Muslim social organizations, Nahdlatul Ulama and the Muhammadiyah, matter in particular because they have been key to the success of Indonesia's democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Hebner. Thanks for such a honest compliment of Indonesian democracy journey. Hopefully Indonesia always get through the obstacles coming. As Bapak Ulil mentioned before, in Indonesia, religion always matters. And also, Prof. Hebner also emphasized this, in Indonesia, religion is always matter. And religious organizations such as PBNU and Muhammadiyah have been played important role to build peace in inclusive religious understanding in grassroots. Thank you very much, Prof. Hefner. And for the second opportunity, I would like to give to Professor Monaco Sakai from University of New South Wales. Please, Prof. Sakai.
Selamat pagi dan good morning. Assalamualaikum. Salam sejahtera. Thank you very much for your kind invitation. And Bob, I really enjoyed your paper, and I really wish to see you because we've been communicating over 25 years, but I have never met him in person. But I really feel his work has really been shaped my thought, and I can really continue what he was mentioning, particularly about women. And I'd like to really would like to say thank you to Professor Asep and Amelia Fauzia, particularly I think with Professor Amelia Fauzia, we've been really collaborating, and I think the fact that I'm on the editorial board, together with also Bob Hefner on Study Islamia, that I'm not a Muslim, I'm a woman, and in fact the university and editorial board really would like to have input that really explains the way inclusiveness is represented. So I'd like to say thank you very much for having me here today. And also, I think the next is Maju, slide here. Slide here, Maju. Okay. I have been working on a lot of Indonesia social issues, but my really thoughts have been on how local cultural and religious values can be reflected, particularly in thinking about modernity and thinking about development policies. And I'm very fortunate to have a lot of collaborators, particularly from Indonesia. So Pak Bob also endorsed my book on kajian tidak tepat peliknya, Identitas Khmer Islam Merantau di Sumatera Selatan. And after that, I also have been working on particularly the impact of Islamic microfinancing, or maybe if I continue Prof. Uli's this morning's talk, religion matters, and that's for sure. But how then religion is relevant. So in that context, I think what I really wanted to say is religion really is reflected in everyday transactions like Islamic microfinancing, or how the religion sees sort of rentenir, or loan sort of high interest charging lenders. And so what I have been doing is to unpack particularly the meaning of religion, and then how social justice, if I continue Bob's talk, democracy, particularly inclusiveness and democracy, is reflected in everyday transactions. So I have published Muslimah Kewirausahaan dan Pemberdayaan Masyarakat along with Dompet Duafa. I have been collaborating with them. And also my thinking also goes into community resilience, particularly like Bencana or disaster relief. And I have also profile on how religion, religious organizations really use their thoughts and put it into action. So Dawah Bilhal, that way. So I have been really investigating and writing about how Islam, is really reflected in everyday matter, social transformation of Indonesia. So as Bob said, I agree. Indonesia is really amazing. And the fact that, this really huge country with so many islands, different languages, and still people are together. And this is really a good example of how this, demokrasi kekeluargaan or Pancasila can be really reflected. So I have some now students, particularly from like Afghanistan or Bangladesh, and I'm really encouraging them to read how Indonesia managed to create, a new post-colonial state, and then how Indonesia is really putting Indonesia together, and what actually works. What works is not just economic formula, but this cultural democracy, cultural inclusiveness, and I really agree that Indonesia has done remarkably well. And recently, just about 10 days ago, I was awarded Penghargaan Kebudayaan Anugerah Indonesia from Ministry of Education. So saya ucapkan terima kasih. Then I think that's really a testimony that they respect the scholarship. I'm not a Muslim, I'm not Indonesian, but I really love Indonesia, being here, and I've been teaching really about Indonesia in Australia. And I really like to say that Indonesia really offers a lot of very good examples of inclusive and still religious country. So next please. Yeah, so recently one of the good things about pandemic, very few things, but Amelia and I usually go a lot of places and we never sit down to write. So we are forced to sit down every day. We were talking, writing together to finish this book. And this book is about how Islamic values really assist women's, particularly gender equality. And well, I'll talk about some of the things which really are sort of relevant to this topic, particularly how religion matters. Religion still matters, of course. I think people here do agree religion does matter. But in the West, particularly like Australia as well, I'm surrounded by people by why do you bother? Because a lot of people in Australia, 40% of young students, like my students, never go to church. And for them, religion is so what? So for me, teaching about Indonesia is teaching about how religion functions and how religion is integrated, and also the basis of inclusiveness. And that's what I've been teaching at the UNSW Canberra. So in this book, I like to just sort of pick a few things, next slide please, which are important to think about how religion matters, particularly in economy. So Bob didn't talk about particularly economy, but I think he has published particularly about Sharia Bank as well, and market. So I'm kind of reflecting his interest and my interest in that area. And so theoretical implication of then if religion matters, what does it mean? And it's so obvious. I think a few keynote speakers have mentioned that modernity is not secular. So I think, but still modernity is not secular, but human rights, democracy, social justice can be achieved by using inclusive creative interpretation of Islam. And that is definitely emerging in Indonesia, so I'll give some examples. And then I will summarize findings and policy implications. Next, please. Yeah. So very briefly, because it's not a lecture, clear umum, so I just skip quite a lot of details. But where it fits, so a lot of theoretical discussions about women's development is really women have been sort of thought more like placed as a tool for development. That was in the 70s. And then in 80s, I think, I joked, Tawang was here, but first time I came to Indonesia was 84. And I can really see the huge development sort of progress in Indonesia now. And but during that time, I think what I can see is KB, keluarga berencana. and other matters, and then women have been treated as a device or person who would actually implement national planning. But that really sort of ignored or undermined women's own thinking. And I think in the 90s onwards, particularly the word gender empowerment, gender equality, the relationship between men and women and other sexualities started to emerge. And now Millennium Development Goals, after that Sustainable Development Goals, these really matters are talking about gender equality is important. And what's really important is in Indonesia, I think this really, I originally come from Japan, but gender equality in Japan is still at the bottom. Really, Indonesia is much higher. So maybe that explains why I have really become fascinated with Indonesian culture and society and women, and I really feel Indonesia is showing a lot of new thinking and innovations. And as a scholar, I think my job is to unpack that. So next please. So how it is relevant is, particularly gender and development, this GAD approach. We really like to focus on how women feel about their role. If they have a job, if they have earning a good income, are they feeling happy or not? If sort of women themselves are not feeling they are making their own choice at their own will, it is not empowerment. So what I really think, and with Amel, what we have done is how gender issues can be placed in a specific socio-economic historical context. So sometimes I don't dress this way in Canberra, but today I'm kind of adjusting in a sense, but I think I really like this Minnan shawl, Slendan, and I'm very proud to use it. But often I think in the Western countries, a lot of perception is, women are wearing hijab, and then they're forced. But I don't think so. I have had so many discussions, and then they're part of their clothing, they're part of their identity, and it's important, and it should be beautiful. So in that way, I think asking women to take off their hijab, is really forced way of sort of, you have a choice. Then if I have a choice, I'm here in Indonesia, I love this Lendang, and this is hasil riset, UKM. So I bought, this one, and I'm really showing off, and I think I'm going to put it onto Instagram today to show that it's really Minnan. And Kabau people has got really beautiful artifacts and kerajinan tangan. So I think in that context, what I really like to emphasize is really focus on women's own perceptions and critically examine what secularization means. So if someone doesn't want to follow religion, yes, silakan. But if someone wants to, why do we have to? So that's where theoretically I stand. Next, please. So in this book, I think what's probably what I'd like to focus on, emphasize specifically is negotiation of patriarchy, and in fact, sort of like whatever, wali, anyone who is getting married, you need a guardian to endorse your marriage, and you have to have akad nikah, you have to have a wali. So in that way, it's true that this particular patriarchy does exist in Indonesia, Muslim countries. But Muslim women are negotiating, particularly the way their role can be much more sort of extended. And two role modelings we have identified is Khadijah, the first wife of Prophet, and who was a successful entrepreneur, and then who really made a fortune, and then she also assisted, her husband spread Islam with her wealth. So she also is a mother. She was a mother of her children with the Prophet. So in that sense, she has made a really great contribution as a mother and a wife, and then she also had a career. So this is really, suit to everyone's sort of ideal type, as well as Aisha, who is also known to be pious and who really knows a lot about what the Prophet did, hadith. So in that way, I think these two, very religiously minded and loving wife and mother, and who can be useful for the community. I think what else are we looking for, whether that's religious or not religious? I'm very proud if someone is, have got successful career, religiously, committed, and then trying to build a society together with religious motives, and also mother and a wife, so that's really what is, I think, Muslim women using to create their own sort of identity, and then to advance their gender equality. And who would really criticize someone who wants to become one of the best examples as a woman in Muslim histories? So this is really working, and I think it's what I like to say, that there are some reasons which, sort of factors which really support how this particular interpretation is available. But particularly upper middle class women, particularly here, who are university professors, they've got resources to delegate some of the domestic chores to someone else. So I'm not saying that that's the best way, but at least they are also showing that women can do with some assistance. And also, as Pak Bob said, interpretations of Islam, Muslims, really organizations accepted a very inclusive way of interpretations of Islam. Therefore, there are a lot of very fluid and creative interpretations of role models supported by Muslim organizations as well. And also educated women, but Bob also mentioned about the role of higher education. So really, Islam is thriving and the halal economy is growing, then why not? We can become a fashionista, like hijabers, and then we can also enjoy what we love, and we like to be who we want to be, and we like to have a husband, we like to have children and career, and then contribute to society. And then, in fact, then gender equality, sustainable development goals, number 5, can be achieved, including Islamic ideas. Next, thank you. Next page. Yeah, so Indonesia definitely has this concept of economic kerakyatan, sort of people's economy. So UKM, or small and medium enterprises, have been supported. And in fact, as Bob said, Aisha or Muslimat, these organizations associated with Muhammadiyah or Nahdlatul Ulama are very much full on. Last week I went to Bukit Tinggi, and then I visited Sekolah Wirausaha Perempuan under Aisha, and they are supporting short courses to train women. But at the same time, they are also, making sure that they are going to become a good Muslim women. So after the training, they said, Salat dulu, baru pulang, So that's really a combined way, and other associations are also emerging, and national programs, and earning an income, also then increasing women's public role. That's all supported by Muslim women's organizations and generally speaking Muslim organizations. Next, please. Yeah. So there are a lot of role models who really, we can say Ibu Nurhayati Sepakat, owner of Wardah. I think for our book, we were fortunate to be able to see her a few times. And she's from Bukit Tinggi, from West Sumatra, and then she is a wife, and she's a mother, and then she is a successful owner. Herself doesn't say that I'm a role model for everyone. She's very, very sort of humble and nice, community, sort of very humble lady, but she really offers a lot. So in Padang, where I was last week, lots of projects have been also supported by her company's CSR. And how I think Islam is really accommodating and this kind of supportive role is particularly Pengabdian, Islamic study group, where women get together to study Islam, but at the same time they actually talk about how that particular concept of Islam can be linked with business training. So, and then also kalau ada pengajian pasti ada arisan dan makan-makan, yeah. So it's a good way to really create sisterhood. So what I said is this pengajian in the Islamic study group, and then also in order to keep this study group, this is a financial, rotating credit system, where the receiver will actually use the money to cater for sort of food, but at the same time, particular money can be used to start up. So I have seen quite a lot of successful pengajian and arisan, which really offer training and social capital building network system, and sekalian promosi barang-barang. So at the same time, people who have success, ini buatan saya, mau dijual. So that sort of activities are going on. So Islam is not separate, just once a week you'd go to a particular place to pray. No, it's part of your fashion statement, as well as identity, as well as sort of studying about religion. And then you can also buy each other's product. And then also you can also invite, sort of specialists to train, business tips. So I have been invited to quite a lot of successful pengajian, sekalian arisan, dan sekalian, sort of pasar. So this really shows how Islam is really part of the everyday life, and particularly economic activities in Indonesia, which is really now progressing very well. But what I'm kind of a bit concerned about is the digital divide, which is happening in Indonesia. So people who have got a gadget device, who can use Instagram, they are really progressing. But there are people who are not. So that's the next slide, which probably we'll talk about. Next slide, please. Yeah, so before I just go into this, I also followed some of the successful Muslim ladies, Ibu Dian Pelangi. First time when she was married, I think she was very much focused on her entrepreneurship, fashion designer work. And then she really posted something very Western women can perhaps relate to, which is if you have got your own income, you like to pay for your own bills. So you're not relying on man. It's my money, it's my work, it's my life. So which I think I would definitely can relate to, and a lot of Western women would like to see Muslim women saying this. But I think she was kind of received critical comments online, and after her first marriage, next slide please. Next slide. And so then I think when she got married, she immediately fell pregnant, and she was really happy, and she received a lot of likes, and she actually showed really now my pregnancy kit showed positive. I actually watched a real video as well, and she looked happy. And then I think that I just scrolled her photo Instagram yesterday as well. So now she's got a very pretty daughter, and she's also designing, the kids' clothes line as well. And now her identity has changed. She is now wife, mother, and entrepreneur. So before that, she was actually having identity as entrepreneur. So in Indonesia, she is now, I think, definitely happy with her multiple roles. And we also, in chapter 4 in our book, we studied about single career women's predicaments in Indonesia. So a lot of women who are single and who are career oriented, they are not really happy. And I think we also explored single women, perawan tua, in England as well. And that particular story was people who cannot find a suitable husband, even trying to become, madu, so a second wife. And there's actually an application to find a sort of second wife, search engine as well. So what it really shows is just pursuing career success based on feminism. It should really bring happiness, but in Western, in Islamic context, I think what we can safely say is, as a woman, a lot of people feel wife and mother, very important aspect. And then I myself, I think I got married pretty late. So when I had a husband and a kid, I actually, in Indonesia, people say, Alhamdulillah, that's the word I received. But now I'm feeling happy because my son's around 20 years old, and it's really good to have discussions with him. So next, I'm closing very soon. Yeah. And so I think what I really like to focus is Islam, how Islam matters. So, Kiai Ulil mentioned how it matters. So I've just given you examples of how it matters. So Islam is not just for praying. It's really, linked with clothing. It is also Pengabdian training, as well as branding and the network. And a lot of people can have a kind of curhat session in Pengabdian as well. So it's a sisterhood mentoring. So if you go to a business school, all these things are taught, but without any kind of reference to religion. But in Indonesia, it's really combined. The next, please. Yeah. So I'm just giving you some examples which we talked about. And so this from Bogor, she's running a halal bakery. So she used to be a docent in IPB, but she changed her occupation to become an entrepreneur to manage motherhood as well as wife, and then also her contribution. So what she's I think her story is saying is this particular way of negotiating, their role as Khadija and Aisha, that is really giving women a new way of participating and also getting a lot of sort of social recognition in the public. Next, please. Yeah. So I think, so to conclude, this religion definitely matters. And local strategy, which Indonesia is showing, is how Islam can assist women. So I really don't want Afghanistan to be the face of Islam, particularly for gender equality. Women cannot go to, even school. Women cannot do anything. No, in Indonesia, women are really trying to sort of have negotiated, and they are really having important positions, particularly in universities. So I think that's really important. And also women gaining social status also give credit to men. So, I think often the joke is, istri senang, suami senang. But I think it's lebih, right? I think istri senang, jadi suaminya senang juga. I think that's my take. And next slide, please. And so I think just what we'd like to offer as a conclusion is this challenge. A lot of women are now going into business, particularly e-business. So e-market and then digital market are offering a lot of opportunities. But at the same time, what we are seeing is these kind of small-scale entrepreneurship seems to be thriving, but they are informal. So in fact, women are earning, but their business is not really registered, not structured. So in that way, I think it's a problem, because in terms of statistics, women's participation in the economy doesn't seem to pick up if women are not registering their businesses. And this invisibility of women would really make a big problem, because no activities, then no social policy support. So I think what's important is how Muslim organizations can support women to formalize their businesses. That's really important. And also what's important is some people who cannot really have digital presence, they seem to be losing business opportunities. So that's another way, I think, how Muslim organizations can assist women who do not have digital presence or who do not have the needs who do not have the kind of aspiration to do so, what kind of jobs can they do if in the future everything, all the transactions will really turning into digital space. Next, please. Yeah. So I think that's probably what we can really say about my findings. And I like to, thank Amelia, to really go with all the details together when we published. And this afternoon, we'd like to really explore more about so this digital implication for women. So if anyone is interested, we'd like to invite you back to our panel session at 1:30 today about special panel on implication of smart cities for community resilience. And we're talking about not only just IKN, but sort of how then Indonesia, which really has been inclusive, and how Indonesia can overcome the challenges coming from this spread of e-commerce, digital economy, which can be very exclusive because I happened to upgrade my phone to iPhone 14, 15, but I think before then was iPhone 6. And then I went to Singapore, and immigration couldn't actually let me through because my phone was too old to talk to the application. So then I had to change. But that really gave me a kind of sort of fear that if you are not compatible with particular mode of operation, you are not a citizen or you are not really legal. So that really is a problem, and I think Indonesia is now showing a lot of advancement of businesses, particularly using e-format, but how we can then do this as kekeluargaan, because the format itself is becoming very much exclusive. So that's my kind of take for this afternoon as well, and I'd like to say thank you very much for the opportunity.
Give applause to Prof. Sakai. Thank you very much. Okay, Prof. Sakai is Indonesia from economic and social life, social aspect, and social and economic aspect in Indonesia is really reflected by religion. So again, religion still matter in Indonesia, but unfortunately there are many works have to be done in Indonesia because the ultimate values of Islam, especially because Islam is the majority religion in Indonesia, still not working or still not performing in the grassroots. If I may share my story when I was in Turkey, especially in Kurban Day, so Muslim sacrifice animal. And when I share the story of my village, in my village, 1 month before Bayram, Kurban Bayram, they say Kurban Bayram for Hari Raya, the imam will pronounce to people who want to sacrifice, and they collect the name, and after that they make a list. But in Turkey, they don't do the same thing. In Turkey, they do sacrifice in every house. So there are many gods not shared, spread to people because everyone is doing sacrificing. So this is the best value actually we can learn, they get from Indonesia. Thank you very much once again, Prof. Sakai. And for the last speaker we have today, Professor Dr. Abbas Panakal from University of St. Andrews, United Kingdom. The time is yours.
Selamat pagi. Assalamualaikum to all. Let's start with the slide, I think. We'll go with the subject. Okay, so I will talk something, the subject suggested by our organizers, and really thank to all, especially Yuli and also Professor Fauzia and Rector and also Nahdlatul Ulama team and our co-organizers, bringing this wonderful event, and especially discussing the technology, that affects especially religion, democracy, and peace building. People were in the field of peace building for years, maybe decades, but suddenly things are changing. because of involvement of technology. So I'm happy that yesterday when I came here, Yuli was wearing the Palestinian flag dress code. So I found there was a big protest. It was the biggest in the world, largest protest organized in the world to keep peace in the region. Then in the morning when I look into the newspapers, can we have the second one slide? I found this is a newspaper from United Arab Emirates this morning. Now I think it's 9 o'clock there. I found this in the morning, early morning, maybe there 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning in United Arab Emirates. They published the first picture from Indonesia. Yesterday, the big protest picture is carried over the world, all newspaper in the world. So you can see how important is this. This is the newspaper today published in Middle East. They carried the biggest one. So, no, just I thought, I will start with this because everywhere people are talking about peace building. So Indonesia was doing the best yesterday for that cause. And also, when I think of your vernacular, I found that even the word that we use, salamat pagi, that itself comes with a peace, So I found in Indonesia, the life of the people, it's related, and your language, and maybe your culture, it has some inclined attachment with the peace. Okay, let's go to the subject next. I will just, this is the introduction because I think we have, 15 minutes? Yeah, I will sum up in 15 minutes. So this is the introduction, history of peace building during turmoil. Because now world is in turmoil. I'm coming originally from Malabar, South India. The word always, jihad, the word jihad always controversial. Especially in Western context, jihad is a terrible word. But it was introduced in my area, in my local language, as a word of harmony. In 16th century when Portuguese came, Portuguese came first there and then they attacked this region. So the Vasco da Gama first landed in the south region was in my village. Yeah, in 1498, that, the time they came over there and they claimed, there was a claim at that time, he is the first one who came from Europe to Indian subcontinent or the South and Southeast Asia or Asian region. But it was a false claim. Historically, it was a historiography written by the conquerors. They were telling that, because we have history before that, periplus of Erythraean Sea that talk about the Greeks were coming over there. They were doing business with our region. And now we have excavation. Government of India has spent a lot of money to dig the oldest cities that mentioned in old document of Greeks. And we found Greek coins over there. That's in BC and 1st century of AD. We had wonderful trade relation. Then that trade relation continued because Egypt was part of Greek and Egyptians were coming that way through Arabs and Arab trading was there. That time the trade was linked through this area to China, and we have great travelers. Ibn Battuta came before him, and even Zheng He from China, he came through this region and he went till Africa. So those trade routes were there, but still we were taught in earlier time, he is the first European, he came and touched. That's one atrocity we have gone through the historiography done by conquerors. So, no, just I was telling that how history, and I will mention one more thing, because we have sum up. When jihad was introduced, I told you that there is a line, there is a book written by, it's a poetry written in 16th century. The poet name is Qazi Muhammad. He wrote a poetry, he's telling that the regional people, they conquered the fort built by Portuguese. It's a Calicut port, Chalium port in 1573. So Muslims were fighting. There were Muslim fighters. They were navy, full navy of Hindu king. It was not a democracy at that time. The kings were ruling the region. So the king's army, naval force was all Muslims, because Hindus believe that they cannot go to the sea because it was bad omen according to their religion. So Muslims were full army, and this Hindu king were encouraging Hindus to convert at least one person in the family to Islam, to strengthen the army there, Muslim naval force over there. So Muslim naval force was fighting against Portuguese at that time. Hindus told that, no, we don't allow Muslims to fight alone and die. We don't allow you to do jihad and die alone because you are minority in the country. We will fight in front and will die first. Then only we will allow you to die. That is the first jihad, and this was the harmonious jihad. This was the jihad of coexistence we learned first in our document. This document that called Fathul Mubin, it's available in British Library document. In British Library, it's a manuscript. It's still preserved over there. So this is just a history of peace, because it was different in the earlier time. Okay. So there is a disruptive technology, Now we are using a lot of technologies. I will quickly go because I don't want to take more time on that. The challenges, because at the COVID time, we used more technologies, different religion. You can see that Hindus used and Muslims, and we were learning the 2 years. Sometimes we cannot go to the mosque, or we were not into the real practices they were doing long time, and some people had some kind of maybe mental pressure because of that. But now we used to accept technologies, and we are ready to incline with those things. So virtual worship and religious gatherings were everywhere. Today, the new people are more linear to that. Let's go next one. So it has some ethical and moral concern, because new AI things are coming. The theological debate on AI and transhumanism. There the religion speaks. There religion matters, Religion, because religious ethics that never go beyond any kind of available technology, because we have all the foods, but some religious people cannot take it. We will tell that. It will be giving some pleasure or some kind of maybe, I don't know, they will be enthusiastic to take other people, because of their religion, they will tell no to that. So same kind of things will be in case of AI and transhumanism people talking about, but a religious person can tell no, because he has proved that earlier. Even the dress code, even in using maybe gold, men cannot use, because he may be a wealthier millionaire, billionaire. He say no to something because he's a believer. So in the case of AI, religious people can have some kind of no, in some areas. So I think the religion will be a matter, real matter in ethical and moral concern of new technologies. So there are theological debates, but I believe that the real believer can have boundaries. Okay. So the case studies are coming, because all religious perspective, because religious leaders are telling, because earlier time when some invention came, when television came, and also when cinema came, our religious leaders were telling haram, But when AI came, or Facebook, Instagram, lot of things came, nobody, I think, were telling. But somebody tells something, but they post in Facebook and tell, because later on, I found a debate in the TV, somebody coming into TV, and sometimes they talk about some bad effects of the television on that. So that's good, but they are not fully against those kind of things. So all the religious groups, Muslims, Christian, Jews, all other groups, they are using this, and there are a lot of studies on that. Let's go next. Next slide. So that's what is on religion I'm talking, because I think this very vast subject they put it. There is also a case of democracy. I will mention that just because I am from a country, I born in a country that is concerned the largest democracy in the world, India. What is happening? Because USA is talking about democracy now, because United Nations, I have got chance many times to go there, maybe speak in different occasions over there. So what we found that when there is an issue in the world, we all talk about democracy, but some country can veto there, because in Palestine issue we found the veto power of America there over. So it has to be reoriented, I think, the current democracy, or even from a democratic country, I will tell you how the new technology affect us. So let's go next. Because nowadays we have a political polarization, and we also talk about algorithms. Algorithm now newly introduced in the Facebook and Instagram, because what we post and what is our we write or what is our interest, it will read by the people who are interested in the same things. That you can see that those blue people, they are connected in between. This is the algorithm now work, So what we read will be favored to us. What we read or what we understand from the social media will be inclined, or it will be in favor of our research or our postings. This kind of algorithm is everywhere. Okay, let's go next. Then the electoral process comes, because in last Trump's times, they told that there was influence, his election was influenced from, there was allegations, because another power, Russia was influencing them. There was, same like in India, now we vote using the electronic voting machine. So opposition parties are accusing that this can be manipulated, because we vote, because then machine tell how many vote went to this one and that one, and we have VVPAT system, but it's not fully. So VVPAT, what we do, we print the vote and keep it there. Randomly we print and keep it there. Just some people have some kind of issues and allegations. It can be recounted, but it won't be done 100%, maybe 10% of VVPAT will be kept to just a random check. So in this case, modern technological system, we have these issues. Then what happens, then another issue is that emerging challenges in democracy, and it's not in democracy, it's all other areas. We are calling deep fake. So I think religion can also be a still matter there, because fake, we don't go for fake. We know that we are believing the realities. And also one religious person cannot do that. A religious person is a good believer, he cannot do that, the deep fakes, and also this kind of manipulation, So I believe that especially we saw the deep fake videos, because these are some of the things that we can make. People will feel that. So I believe that the belief and religion, that really the matters in this time. And also we call, because we were different eras, modernism, postmodernism, now post-truth era. I think one religious person even cannot be a post-truth person. The religion is based on truth. How religion go to the post-truth? So there are such kind of debates, Same like in post-truth, if there are people in post-truth, they can talk about deep fake, because they are above the fake, because there were a lot of fakes earlier. They were accepting the fake. Now fake, the word is not enough, because the terminology is not enough. Now they use deep fake. Even fake itself is a matter for religion. They don't use the fake. So those who were using the fake for a long time, now they need new terminology, so they use deep fake. Same like that the post-truth, I don't know how the terminology, that never can match with the religion, any religion, I think. So let's go next. This also really impact the peace building, because I'm in a group based the peace builders from around the world. Yuli is part of that. I think a lot of Indonesians and people from around the world, because it's based in Portugal, on International Dialogue Center. We have a group, more than 500 people from different religious background. that WhatsApp group stopped for 1 week because of the Middle East event. Because a lot of people coming with a different opinion on that, that disturbed the peace among the colleagues. We know each other. We know he's a rabbi and he's a imam and I'm a academist in the peace building, but people are coming with the different opinions and they support different groups because of some big reasons, and they stopped it. They told that don't post anything. The WhatsApp group, it became admin only. They asked people to be calm and quiet at home, you know. So how the social media really impact the peace building. Even the peace builders, they are peace builders, they are TOT people. TOT means trainers of trainers. They are very prominent. I know these are the #1 people who are in the group. Maybe the prominent people from Indonesia, a lot of deans and a lot of very prominent peace builders, but the social media was affecting them very harshly, and this international group told them, don't post anything, be calm and quiet, don't come involved in these kind of issues. So because of that, you know, we can see now how how it's the impact the peace building. So it is the case of the peace builders, especially who are working in the field maybe for last 1 decade, 10 years, or more than that, the lifelong time they were spending on peace building. Their mind was disrupted and they were talking or defending their own beliefs at the time. So I believe that it will be more creating more chaos in the mind of normal people who were not in the peace building, who were not learned about or trained about the reconciliations. So we can understand what is happening in the other part. Let's go to the next. Yeah, this is social media conflicts are there. This is, I was mentioning, in Middle East conflicts, is everywhere in the world. It's affected the people. Sometimes I told yesterday, I only watch maybe half an hour social media, because everything about the conflicts that really affect our mental stature and maybe our studies and readings, because everywhere we see that death of the small kids and babies and crying of mothers. Really this affect us very much. And also there is a, you know that I think I have a few 1 or 2 slides. I'll tell you how these social medias work. You know, these social media, they have their own algorithms and they have their own investors. The most of the influential social medias, you know, they hide some of the posts, they take out. A lot of people have this kind of experience nowadays, you know. They are not showing up the post, everything is there. These kind of things are, because it's earlier we called linguistic warfare. There are different kind of wars, you know. Linguistic warfare means they use different words. Because of the linguistic war, the jihad became a bad word, because it was a struggle in Islam or in the religion. It was not used for the bad things earlier. And Khilafah and Khalifa and Islamic State all became very bad terminologies because of linguistic warfare. Now it's coming the warfare of social media. Social media is doing a lot in this kind of war. That will be studied later, I think. Let's go next. So yeah, privacy, data security. So we all talk about privacy and data security. I've been 3 or 4 times to Cupertino. My friends, my relatives and my neighbors and colleagues who are working in different platforms. I have friends in Apple, I have friends in Google, and also Instagram and Facebook. We went also the top of the Facebook, there is a garden, and whenever I go, I visit them. I asked my friend in Google, what is your job over there? How do you get money? Because we are not paying. We all use Google email. We all search in the Google. Maybe 3-4 times you search today. You got a lot of information. Did you pay for them? No. 5? Okay. Finish? Okay. So my friend, he told me that they sell the data. Because if somebody in Jakarta want to start a business of the dress, The Google will provide them. He can approach the Google. They will tell that how many people are looking for suit or looking for abaya here in this area. So all these things will be put into one folder. Nobody is analyzing this. They have softwares. The software will, so what is his job is that taking from that software has already sorted out all that information. They will give the information to different companies and they will get money out of that. This is one case. And another case, they know what you do, and even your screen, if you open the screen and talk something, that detects, and it also recorded, every word. So data is everywhere, and this is sold by these kind of big companies. They will talk about this, privacy, data security, and concern. So bias of algorithm and decision making, and they help to make decision. Others, through us, we get a lot of frees, and so we enjoy the free of the things. Who is the best, the largest business people in the world now? Those who run these kind of things. Because who is working for us? This morning I was working for Google, I was working for Facebook, I was working for LinkedIn and Instagram. We all work for them. Every day maybe we look how long we use our screen, 7 hours, more than our work time we use for these kind of things. So there also religion matters. How do we deal? According to our belief and the things that can be viewed or that can be analyzed or can be sold to other world. Let's go because time is up. Ethical, social implication, the privacy. Sorry, next. Yeah, this is a conclusion. Summing up here. What is the conclusion is a call for action, responsible technology adoption in discussed domains, the responsible adoption of technology in all domains. Who can be responsible nowadays? The ethical things. I believe that all the religion have the ethics. So religion is the matter in the time of technology. That's the word, the final word I have to give you. Thank you so much for listening. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Prof. Abbas, for the insight. I imagine our world today is like we are controlled by invisible hand, by algorithm. And it's so scary actually, because who create this algorithm, maybe they cannot control anymore this program. And the algorithm control back our consciousness. So scary. Actually, the discussion today is really interesting, but we need to take a break for lunch because we need some logistic to continue the session in this conference. Thank you very much for your attention. Because in the beginning, I didn't say salam to you all, so I will end up this session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and back to committee.
Honorable ladies and gentlemen, let us thank you to our three panelists. The first is Professor Robert W. Hefner, PhD from Boston University. The second is Professor Minako Sakai, PhD from UNSW. The third is Dr. Abbas Panakal from University of St. Andrews, United Kingdom. And also, thanks to our great moderator, Ibu Siti Aisyah, SE MPhil, for leading the plenary session 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to give our warm appreciation to all collaborators of the 6th ICONIST. We would like to invite the representatives of University of New South Wales, represented by Professor Minako Sakai, PhD, PBNU Central Board of Nahdlatul Ulama, represented by K. Haji Ulil Absar Abdallah, MA, from University of St. Andrews, United Kingdom, Dr. Abbas Panakal, De La Salle University, Fernando A. Santiago, from St. Andrews University, Professor Dr. Nasser Muhammad Arif, and also from Bank BJB. All the respected representatives may have your place in front of the stage, and I would like to ask the willingness from Mr. Din Wahid, PhD, as the Deputy Counselor for Cooperation and Institutions, Professor Amelia Fauzia, MA, PhD, and also Mr. Fatuddin, MA Hum, MH, the Secretary of LPPM Institute, to deliver the placard to our collaborators. Baik, Bapak Ibu diharap menghadap ke arah banner yang ada di depan panggung. Bapak Ibu diharap untuk mengharap ke banner yang ada di depan panggung, karena kameramennya akan mengambil gambar dari atas panggung. Dan kepada peserta sekalian, diharap kesediaannya untuk berdiri untuk sesi foto bersama. Kepada panitia The Sixth ICONIST, mohon kesediaannya untuk bergabung ke depan panggung untuk sesi foto bersama. One more time, we would like to ask everybody to please face the banner in front of the stage, and we'll have a photo session together. Oke. Kameramennya sudah siap? Ya. Bapak Ibu sekalian, pada hitungan ketiga ya. 1, 2, 3. Baik. One more time on count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Satu kali lagi. 1, 2, 3. Please give a round of applause for all the guests of the 6th ICONIST 2023.
Afterwards, we will have lunch break until 1:30 and continued by parallel session. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy your lunch break. Thank you so much.
What? Okay. Baik Bapak Ibu sekalian, setelah ini akan dilanjutkan dengan lunch break sampai pukul 1.30 dan selanjutnya akan ada parallel session secara virtual. Untuk informasi lebih lanjut, lunch break tersedia di lantai 1.
Thank you so much.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.